I want to bring in a Texas Congressman, Marc Veasey, right now, a Democratic lawmaker who traveled with a delegation to the Horn of Africa back in August and can provide some insight into the American take on these deadly bomb blasts in Somalia. He joins me now from Fort Worth, Texas. So you tweeted earlier that President Donald Trump's rhetoric is making the world unsafe. In what way? What did you mean by that exactly?
Oh, I don't think there's any question about the fact that the president and him seeming unstable right now is not the message that you want to be sending bad guys like al-Shabaab or any other terrorist network. They need to see that there's stability in the United States. They need to see that the American public is standing behind our leaders and have confidence in what they're doing, and that the rest of the world thinks that likewise. And I think that by, again, just the instability that you're seeing out of the White House, that it really does help make the world unsafe, and that he really needs to sit down, talk with General Kelly, talk with General Mattis about how he can appear to be more confident,
you can understand
more
how
knowing
Americans,
in delivering these
sorry
messages.
to jump in, you can understand how Americans would be reluctant to get involved in a country like Somalia, or involved to get in any kind of country where there is an active fight against terrorist groups, wherever it is on the African continent. In fact, even in the Middle East, there's that reluctance now, and it's embodied by President Trump. He won an election partly for saying, I'm not going to get the country into this type of thing anymore. Did you understand that hesitation from Americans in general, and what would you suggest the U.S. do to try to sort of alleviate some of the issues in that part of the world?
Well, let me say this. I stand firmly with the international community in helping Somalia. They're trying to get their country turned around, and it's important that, as the United States, that we do everything that we can to help them in that effort, because if we can help them bring their more stability to their country, it won't allow groups like al-Shabaab that has committed to attacking a U.S. presence overseas wherever they can. It will give them less of an opportunity to be able to conduct these types of strikes. And
but
we do
would
have
you do
military
that?
personnel in the area. Oh, the way how we do that, the number one way that we do that is by governance. I mean, we have to help Somalia be able to self-govern. There are parts of Somalia where al-Shabaab is able to roam around freely and run a quasi form of government. We need to cut them off from that. I mean, they have a good president right now, I think, and it's very early in his tenure in President Mohammed. Of course, he worked for the New York Transit Department for many years and has dual U.S. citizenship from when he was in Buffalo, New York. And so he understands the importance of governance, not only from a military standpoint, but from a local standpoint. It's the local security forces there, the local police there have to be able to make sure that these types of attacks don't take place. So we can rely less and less on an international military effort to help keep stability in the country.
There was a lot of criticism of the president for not reacting to the deaths of 4 American Green Berets killed in Niger. It was 2 weeks ago. He today finally answered a question about it, saying he was going to call the family members of the 4 Green Beret service members. What is your reaction to that?
I actually sent out a tweet about that also. It was very troubling that he didn't respond earlier. And you may remember in Afghanistan when the mother of all bombs was dropped, and the president really didn't seem to say whether or not he had okayed it, but that the military was sort of in charge of it. And again, the president needs to convey to the public that he has a vast and good understanding of knowledge about what's happening internationally. The biggest thing that needs to happen in Africa is that we need to be able to support our troops and be able to get them to safety after they've been harmed within that, what the military calls that golden hour. As you know, Africa is very vast, and when attacks like what happened in Niger are conducted, it can be very hard for them to get the medical assistance that they need. But in order for whatever we're doing there in an assist capacity to support our troops, we again, that has to be an area that the president takes seriously, that he's looking into, and that he's giving the military everything that they need in order to be able to take care of our troops.
I want to get your reaction on Iran. What was striking is that over the last several days, the president having decertified the deal with Iran, is that here in Europe, European Union foreign ministers all basically banded together and said, we urge America to reconsider. We will honor this deal because we signed this deal. And we can't just sort of go back on this agreement, you know, after having essentially negotiated it and gotten it to its conclusion. Do you think America is, I mean, what do you make of now America's role in the world, threatening to back away from this agreement?
Oh, I think that is very, very dangerous. First of all, I don't think that is good for Israel for it to seem like that America has pulled out from that part of the world. Even if we are continuing to give Israel assistance, we need to be engaged. We need to be fully engaged.
Well,
we
Israel's
need to be
probably
working
happy
with our
that
European partners.
Israel's probably happy the president is decertifying.
I have seen the I have seen the tweets by the prime minister, but again, from a long-term perspective, if it looks like that we are going into these things unilaterally and trying to solve these problems on our own without assistance from our European partners in the Middle East, then I think that it is a huge mistake. It sends the wrong message, and it just shows that we're starting to retreat. And what will that lead to next? What other parts of the world will we retreat from next? Where else will we have sort of a hands-off approach? We need, again, President Obama put together the best deal that he possibly could. It certainly wasn't a perfect deal, but it was the best deal that he possibly could to stop the Iranians from being able to immediately put together some sort of a nuclear weapon. And we need to work within that framework. And him just wanting to try to fulfill some campaign promise by decertifying this deal, I think, is very dangerous. And long-term, I think that it hurts our credibility with being able to put together other deals with places like North Korea to stop them from being able to get a nuclear weapon in the future.
Right. We've heard that from others as well. Why would anyone else sign a deal? Marc Veasey, representative from Texas, really appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us live from Fort Worth.